Leave it like this?
It's published. So if you want to go on the Facebook page, let's see.
Yeah, check yours.
It's just yeah, I can see that. You can see it. Yeah, it's live. But can you hear it?
I can hear. I can hear myself.
You can hear it, okay?
Okay, can you send
So
you
like
live?
5 seconds delay, but yeah.
Okay. I think we need to stop moving this one. Keep it here.
Maybe the box, I can put it behind.
Sorry.
Box or bag.
What are you going to put it? No, it's here. Take it out.
I don't know if it records on Facebook or if it records on
It should record. I don't know.
just in case I'll have a screen
At
recording.
the end, you'll have an option to save. I think so.
Just in case I'll use screen recording software at the same time.
But usually, when anything is broadcast, comes in your notification list, somebody was live. If you click, you see the video. So it should work.
It doesn't record it, but I'm going to record it. Hopefully, the two applications at the same time will create a problem.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. إنه من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الغمة وجاهد في الله حق جهاده حتى أتاه اليقين. فيا رب صل على النبي المصطفى ما لاح برق في الأباطح أو خبا. يا رب صل على النبي المصطفى ما قال ذو كرم لضيف مرحبا. أما بعد، فخير الأمور السالفات على الهدى، وشر الأمور المحدثات البدائع. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء، واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم، ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. My dear respected brothers and sisters, we thank Allah Azza wa Jalla, the Almighty, and we praise Him, and we send His complete and perfect salutations to His Messenger Muhammad ibn Abdullah, his wives, his companions, his offspring, and whomever follow their path to the day of judgment. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla in this blessed month, in this blessed place, to accept our deeds, every single good deed that we have done. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla total forgiveness. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla acceptance. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant us the highest rank in the paradise, the Firdaus, without reckoning. My dear respected brothers and sisters, my dream, so is your dream, to live in a community and in a society that its foundation is consciousness of Allah Azza wa Jalla. The foundation of it is knowledge. The foundation of it is wisdom. My dream, and so is yours, to live in a community where the general theme of that community or that society is compassion and fraternity and brotherhood. A community in which if one of us is hurt, we all feel the pain. A community in which when one of us is happy, we all feel the joy. And the question we ask ourselves, are we living in these communities, such communities or not? And this is not to disappoint you or underestimate the value of any community, kalla wallahi. But the question that every single one of us needs to ask ourselves, how much of this we have in our community? Are we happy with the community we are in or not? If we are happy or not, whose responsibility is it to grant us this happiness? My dear respected brothers and sisters, every one of us, if we ask ourselves, we know that we are responsible. It doesn't matter what is your responsibility in a community. At the end, we have responsibility in front of Allah Azza wa Jalla to fulfill the dreams that we all have. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla, the one who made the dream of Yusuf true, when he said, هَذَا تَأْوِيلُ رُؤْيَايَ قَدْ جَعَلَهَا رَبِّي حَقًّا. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to make these dreams true for us, so that we could live in the best community that we could ever imagine. But now, because we know we are not up to that level, let's ask, whose responsibility is it again? Some people do blame the age that we are in or the environment. نعيب زماننا والعيب فينا وما لزماننا عيب سوانا. We blame the age and we say the environment is corrupt now. But we are the one who representing the environment that we are in. We are the one who are affecting the era that we are in. And some people will blame everyone else except themselves. And we say people are corrupt today. But we forgot that any society is built of communities, and every community is built of families, and every family is built of individuals like you and myself. And therefore, the biggest service that you could render to your community is to start working on ourselves first. Because once we become a good person, everyone else will be good bi'idhnillah. But now when we blame everyone else, when are we going to understand our own mistakes and correct them? And we are very quick to judge and draw conclusions about others. Have we reflected on how much is our contribution in the community we are in or not? Now, since we are talking about building, I'm not an engineer by no means. Any building that we have, you need to have at least 3 components that make this building strong. And we know that the earthquake, it doesn't matter how big the magnitude is. When the building is really strong, the effect will be minimum. But if the building is not really strong, a small earthquake, a small shaking will break the building into pieces. And the same thing our communities. If we build our communities based on a strong foundation, or the elements that we will inshallah mention momentarily, it doesn't matter how big the fitna is. It doesn't matter how big the test is. We will come back out of this test stronger. But when our foundation is not strong, then the smallest fitna could break the community into small pieces. And when we look in our community today, while we are so vulnerable to these issues, as soon as we have a small problem, the problem will be magnified to where we could not, even though we pray next to one another, we could not live together. We could not come to a consensus decision. And therefore, we have to observe these 3. The first is the foundation. The second is the elements that we use to build the building, the material, the bricks, the woods, or whatever we use to build that building. And the third is the coherence between these elements. And now go back to the foundation. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, أَفَمَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى تَقْوَى مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانٍ خَيْرٌ أَمْ مَنْ أَسَّسَ بُنْيَانَهُ عَلَى شَفَا جُرُفٍ هَارٍ فَانْهَارَ بِهِ فِي نَارِ جَهَنَّمَ. Allah Azza wa Jalla is giving this vivid example. He says, that person who built the foundation of their building or the foundation of their house on the taqwa of Allah, on the consciousness of Allah Azza wa Jalla, is he better? Or that person who built their building or the foundation of their building next or close on the edge of a blank or a bank that is about to collapse? When this bank collapses, what would happen to the building? The entire building will collapse. Therefore, to build your foundation, you need to make sure this foundation is on a strong area. It is in a strong land. And we do not have a better land to build our communities on than building them on taqwa or the consciousness of Allah Azza wa Jalla. And when you look and you reflect in the history, alike what we see many times today even many intellectual writers, unfortunately, when you look at the news or TV or documentaries, you will see that, or you will probably guess that the Islam is the spread of sword. Wallahi, yes, indeed, we had domination of the world, but we had the leadership of the world. It was not because of we have sword, because of taqwa of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, "Ittaqullaha wa yu'allimukumullah." The first thing that helped us actually to take the leadership of the world is not because we had stronger sword or we had better weapon or artillery. No, wallahi, because we had taqwa. And when we have taqwa, Allah Azza wa Jalla gave us knowledge. And wallahi, when you imagine in the history of Islam, people who were barefooted, they didn't have even nice houses to live in. They weren't even able to write or read. A literate nation. Within 100 years, they start taking the leadership of the world. Not only in political level, but even on science level. Not only Islamic science, but even in secular science. When you look in medicine, for example, you have Ibn Sina, for instance. You take chemistry, we have Ibn Hayyan. Even the concept of numbers, the numbers we have, they're called Arabic number because we as Muslims are the first one to introduce this. This didn't come because we are smarter than the other nations. No, it is because we had taqwa. And every time, and the same tools that they use, we could use them today and they will be as effective. And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَمَنْ يَتَّقِ اللَّهَ يَجْعَلْ لَهُ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Today we have financial issues, we have economic issues, we have political issues. The environment, look at the environment we are in today. It is so polarized that we don't feel safe in a country that you think you belong to. It is really sad. But the first thing we need to do in this situation is to go back to taqwa. And Allah Azza wa Jalla will find a way for us from any hardship. And all these are turbulences, are tests that we will be seeing them. We have seen some, we will see probably even worse. But when we have taqwa, inshallah, we will be stronger and we will stay on firm ground that any issue that we think, whether it's political or financial or social, it will never, inshallah, break us down. Let alone the small issues we have within our community. After talking about taqwa, and I'm deriving this lesson, the Quran is full of lessons on how to build a healthy community, like you know the title. But I'm trying to get, inshallah, these pearls from one surah, which is the Surah Al-Hujurat. And this surah, as a matter of fact, they call it actually Surah Al-Adab, the surah of manners. And trust me, after taqwa, we could not build a good community or a healthy community when we don't have manners. And manners doesn't require a PhD or a master, or it is common sense. But yet Allah Azza wa Jalla keep reminding us in the Quran over and over and over. And much of the life of the Prophet ﷺ was to build manner between the Muslim Ummah. That's when we have manners, that's where tolerance would come. When we have manners, that's where forgiveness would come. When we have manners, that's where generosity would come. When we have manners, that's where compassion would come between the Muslim Ummah. And the first thing that we need to worry about when it comes to manner is the type of information or the rumors or the news that is spread between the Ummah. It is very easy to break any community with a small rumor. That's what Allah Azza wa Jalla says, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. If a moral person bring a news or piece of information to you, verify it, investigate it. And today, instead of we being channeled through which all negativity would pass through, and instead of being that, let's be the one who block the bad news. Let's be the one who stop the rumors. If you hear something about your brother or your sister, make sure you are verifying they said it. If it is negative, even if they said it, please find excuses for them. Because the easiest way to destroy any community is to creating enmity based on negativity that you hear from your brother or your sister. Where is the forgiveness that Allah Azza wa Jalla asked us to have between us? And Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَتَبَيَّنُوا. Put 1,000 lines under فَتَبَيَّنُوا, investigation. Do you know that small investigation sometimes takes years? A small investigation about homicide, it takes years before they get to a finding. Now, subhanAllah, a rumor that destroys a community is worse than any homicide. Because homicide is death of one person, and that rumor is death of entire community. And therefore, we need to take our time to investigate this information. The reason why, Allah Azza wa Jalla subhanAllah, He didn't have to mention the reason why, but yet He mentioned it. He says, أَن تُصِيبُوا قَوْمًا بِجَهَالَةٍ فَتُصْبِحُوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلْتُمْ نَادِمِينَ. So that you don't accuse people with false accusation. And then after that, what would happen? You will be regretful. Please, my brothers and sisters, do not put yourself in a situation where you will be regretful. Not in this dunya, nor in the akhirah. Because it is very easy to break somebody's heart, wallahi. But it takes fortune to heal this heart back. So that's why we have to make sure that we are not breaking anybody's heart. And it is very simple. One word could break somebody's heart. And if you break someone's heart, you break them their entire actually identity. You broke their life. You broke the dignity in them. And then instead of working, investing our time in fixing this heart that we actually broke, let's invest our energy and our time to build more hearts, to get stronger, to get together. It's not that we don't have resources in our Muslim communities. We have resources, but we are misplacing our resources. We have time. It's not that we don't have time, but we are investing in our time to solving the problems, not to preventing the problems. And the Quran teaches us how to prevent the problems before we get in them, so that we could use our time in more effective way. And it doesn't mean that if we are a Muslim community, we shouldn't have misunderstanding. They did happen during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ himself was a victim of misunderstanding between him and the companions. And the companions between them. That's what Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ. I'm skipping some ayat. وَإِن طَائِفَتَانِ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ قَتَتَلُوا. And Allah Azza wa Jalla, it is so beautiful. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. If two groups of people among the believers, they fought. So that means if we are Muslims, we are in a Muslim community, it doesn't mean that we won't get to disagreement. It doesn't mean we won't fight. We are not angels. We are human beings. And therefore, we should be ready for these things. And Allah Azza wa Jalla still, even though they fought one another, Allah Azza wa Jalla still called them min al-mu'minin, among the mu'minin. And today, if we disagree in small issue, we are very quick to label the person. We are probably very quick to label this person as not Muslim, or we issue the word of kufr. Even though the disagreement, it is actually healthy disagreement between us, because the Quran actually itself, it has many texts that Allah Azza wa Jalla purposefully make it to mean multiple meanings. You understand it in a different way that I understand in a different way. If Allah Azza wa Jalla had wanted, He would have sent a Quran that means only one thing, or every ayah means exactly one thing. But because Allah Azza wa Jalla knows we are human beings, and Allah Azza wa Jalla from His mercy made every ayah or most of the ayahs have different meanings, so that we could have healthy debate, healthy differences between us. But it should not, for any moment, these differences should not make any one of us to think that our brother or our sister who we are disagreeing with, they are not among our Muslim community. We can disagree about everything, but we are still Muslims, because not you are the one who called them Muslims, because Allah is the one who called them mu'min. And now we agree that there are differences. What is the solution? The first solution is not to turn your back away from your brother or from your sister. It is not to boycott them. It is not to go outside and plan against them. No. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا وَالصُّلْحُ خَيْرٌ. If there is any disagreement between our community members, the first thing we need to come to, the wise among us, and everyone can do that. Don't wait for a president of the board to do that. Don't wait for an imam to do that. Don't wait for a professor to do that for you. Every one of us should take the leadership of reconciliating between the Muslims. But unfortunately, sometimes the reconciliation doesn't work. And if it doesn't work, we could go to a higher measure, where after agreement, after settling, some groups will actually say, no, I'm not okay with that. And they go back and oppress the first group who accepted the settlement. And Islam acknowledges using actually measures to make sure everyone should be within the boundary, within the borders of reconciliation. That's what Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَقَاتِلَ. Fight that person, and fighting, it doesn't have to be necessarily with weapon wallahi. We have laws that, and alhamdulillah, we are a country of law. You could use the law enforcement to make sure this group who is refusing the settlement to come back to settlement. And Allah Azza wa Jalla opened the gate of settlement even after the second group actually exited the settlement. He says, فَإِنْ فَاءَتْ فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَهُمَا بِالْعَدْلِ وَأَقْسِطُوا. My dear brothers and sisters, our religion is about fairness, is about justice. That's what Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا اعْدِلُوا هُوَ أَقْرَبُ لِلتَّقْوَى. Do not let your hatred towards a specific group that makes you act unjustly. Even if you disagree with a group of people, you still have to be just. Even if the person is your enemy, or if the person is your opponent, you still have to be just with them. As Allah Azza wa Jalla built the foundation of this religion on justice. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعني وإياكم بما فيه من الآي والذكر الحكيم. أقول ما تسمعون وأستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنبياء وإمام المرسلين. My dear respected brothers and sisters, after Allah Azza wa Jalla talked about potential dispute within the Muslim community, He says, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. How many times you texted your brother or your sister? You started your text with brother, my dear brother. How many times you send email and say when you start your email? And this is beautiful thing that wallahi I have seen in the United States. People tend to call one another brother. You don't know your brothers, then you call them just brother. It is beautiful. But have you ever reflected on the obligation that you put on your shoulder when you call this person brother, or you call her your sister? Have you ever reflected to it? In the same way, by the way, the same way you do not get to choose your biological brothers and sisters, you do not get to choose your brother and sisters in Islam. Because the moment you say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, there is automaticity in establishing this brotherhood. It's not our choice. But now what we need to do is not whether we are brothers or sisters. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. It is how we could effectively execute the contract that we have signed between us. And every contract has obligations and rights. And I know many of us know our rights on the other brothers and sisters, but have we asked ourselves, what are the obligations that we have on our shoulder toward our brothers and sisters? That's one thing we have to ask always, because this is liability, and the liability you have to deal with it very carefully. And Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned in many places in the Quran and in the Ahadith, the Prophet ﷺ mentioned, talked about these obligations. One of the first obligations is do not disrespect your brothers and sisters. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَلَا يَسْخَرْ قَوْمٌ مِّن قَوْمٍ عَسَىٰ أَن يَكُونُوا خَيْرًا مِّنْهُمْ. No group of people should be disrespecting other group, because you don't know, may this group be better than you. Because being better is based on taqwa, and this taqwa is hidden in your heart. Nobody knows about it. It's not how much you pray. Yes, it is good. It's an important element in the equation, but it's not simplified in how much you pray or how much you give charity. Taqwa is in your heart that could be reflected into your actions, and sometimes it doesn't. You are ordinary Muslim, but your heart is close to Allah, to where nobody else knows except you and Allah Azza wa Jal. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man aada li waliyan faqad aadhantuhu bil harb." Whoever created enmity with Allah Azza wa Jalla's ally, and Allah Azza wa Jalla's ally, you might be sitting next to Allah Azza wa Jalla's ally, a wali of Allah, but you don't know. So you don't. If you are looking for a person, the way they look, to make sure you are actually giving them respect, then my brother and sister, we are wrong. And in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ says, "Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim." I encourage everyone, including myself, or I will start with myself, to memorize this hadith and actually put it on your door of your fridge, or in your car. Every time you ride your car, you will see this hadith. Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim, la yadlimuhu, wa la yakhduluhu, wa la yuslimuhu. These are the basic rights of our rights on our brothers and sisters. Do not oppress them. Do not hand them over to someone who oppressed them. These are common sense in Islam, wallahi, that we have to contemplate on. And every time you deal with your brother, ask yourself, have I ever been unfair with them or unjust with them? Have I ever betrayed them? And the Prophet ﷺ says, "Ma min imri'in يخذل امرئا مسلما في موضع ينتقص فيه من أرضه وينتهك فيه من حرمته إلا خذله الله في موضع يحب فيه نصرته." Any Muslim, any human being who betrayed a Muslim in a place where they need their support most, who let a Muslim down, Allah Azza wa Jalla will let that person down the moment you need his help the most. And this could be in the dunya, and it could be in the akhirah. And the opposite is exactly true. وَمَا مِنْ امْرِئٍ يَنْصُرُ امْرِئًا مُسْلِمًا فِي مَوْضِعٍ يُنْتَقَصُ فِيهِ مِنْ أَرْضِهِ وَيُنْتَهَكُ فِيهِ مِنْ حُرْمَتِهِ إِلَّا نَصَرَهُ اللَّهُ فِي مَوْضِعٍ يُحِبُّ فِيهِ نُصْرَتَهُ. Whoever, as a Muslim, supported a Muslim in a place where they need their support, the support of you the most, Allah Azza wa Jalla will support you in the moment you need Allah Azza wa Jalla support the most. This could be in the dunya and it could be in the akhirah. My dear respected brothers and sisters, this could be talked about for many khutbahs, wallahi. My time is very limited. But one thing, we could not have a better community when we do not cure ourselves from getting in heated arguments just because we have different point of views. And alhamdulillah, we have in our religion what actually teaches us on how to live together peacefully, even though we are different, from the life of the Prophet ﷺ. And if we are hoping to build a Muslim community without knowledge, that is probably very hard to attain. The easiest way to build a Muslim community is building individuals who have knowledge about Islam. Because knowledge is the key. If you befriend someone who is ignorant, religiously, or in the life in general, even if they would like to help you, maybe they will harm you, because they didn't have the tools to help. And I know many places when you go, people are competing in building masajids. I will say enough building masajids. Wallahi, enough building masajid. Let's support Islam in a scientific way, in a knowledge way, because this is what sustains. Our youth today, they have identity issues. They have conflicting ideas about who they are in this country. Many of them don't come to the masjid, or they don't come to the masajid because they fear what they call social judgment, or probably the environment is not welcome enough for them. We need to teach these children our Islamic education, but in the context of where we are. And that cannot happen, wallahi, if you don't have Islamic schools. And that's why I'm a big advocate. Everywhere I go in this country, I will say, okay, I'm not saying don't build masjid when you don't have a masjid, but when it comes to school, the easiest way actually to establish Islam is killing the knowledge of Islam. That's the easiest way. You will have maybe 10,000 people coming to the masjid, but if you don't have the knowledge, How can we sustain? How can we maintain this Quran? How can we maintain? Yes, Allah Azza wa Jalla will maintain it, but He will maintain it with people who are you and me. And Allah Azza wa Jalla put a great responsibility on our shoulder when He chose us to be in this country. Many are willing to be, but they are not. And this is not without responsibility that Allah Azza wa Jalla will caution us. And like we said, Islam never actually spread in the world if it was not knowledge. It is because the knowledge that the Muslims undertook, not in Islam only, in every field. That's why Islam got to China. Islam got to the border of France. Islam went inside the jungles of Africa, sub-Saharan Africa. It transformed people's life. This is the knowledge that we would like for us to continue the momentum in it, so that we can continue taking the leadership, inshallah, of this religion in the West. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla the Almighty to bring our hearts together. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla from His mercy to grant us mercy in the month of mercy. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla shifa for those who are ill. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla mercy for those who have passed away. For anyone who's going through hardship, we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to bring ease in their life. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to give victory, to give power for the Muslims wherever they are. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to strengthen the relationship between them. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to help us avoid the fitna. It doesn't matter how small is it. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to pave our path to the paradise. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept our fasting. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to accept our charities. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقم الصلاة.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استووا على الصراط وانشروا الصراط الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا كبيرا وأن الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة أعتدنا لهم عذابا أليما ويدعو الإنسان بالشر دعاءه بالخير وكان الإنسان عجولا. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. وجعلنا الليل والنهار آيتين فمحونا آية الليل وجعلنا آية النهار مبصرة لتبتغوا فضلا من ربكم ولتعلموا عدد السنين والحساب وكل شيء فصلناه تفصيلا. الله. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum all. I would like to thank Brother Ahmed who came from Ganabus today. We have a full program with Imam Ahmed. He's staying with us until Maghrib, inshallah. So we have another halaqah at 6 p.m. Challenges and responsibilities of the American Muslims for youth. Please come, bring your friends. It's for brothers and sisters from 6 p.m. After that, inshallah, we will have evening community program at 8 p.m. where we will have Quran tafsir and we will have an Islamic game and will be prizes as well. So please come with your again family, friends, and join us. And thank you, Imam Ahmed, for your khutbah. Jazakallah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Okay, this is not going to be a fundraising because I will be the worst person who does fundraising. Okay? But I will call Allah Azza wa Jalla and call in your heart. I will just remind you that Alhamdulillah, you have a beautiful community. And a community that I would wish to be part of it. And inshallah, I'm hoping that I will be part of it one day. Now, for this community to be successful, we need your support. Yes, we need time volunteering and we need your dua, which is the most important, but also your financial support to any project that is going on. Now, one of the best projects that you could ever invest in, a project that will actually generate income for you while you are in your grave. Because The Prophet ﷺ says it's a very simple hadith, basic hadith, that if human being dies, their deed will be interrupted except from 3 sources. The first source, a child, a righteous child. And I will tell you how you can get all 3 in one. Righteous child, and then a knowledge that people would benefit from it, and a perpetual sadaqah. If you invest in any project that teaches the Islamic, the children, Muslim children, Islamic knowledge, Islamic education, and also at the same time teaching your own children in that project, and at the same time the project will benefit other people, you will have all the 3 in one. And this is the best investment you would ever make with anyone. And another thing that I would like to remind you, it is the season this time. And the season, when it is season, you will get coupons in like Christmas, the days before Christmas, and during the Thanksgiving. From November, you will start seeing the promotion. And Allah Azza wa Jalla's promotions are up. This month is a promotion of Allah Azza wa Jalla. You have coupons, and buy these coupons or use these coupons, redeem them in this month, because who knows who will live until the next year. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to sustain our life. That's why I'm encouraging myself first, and I will be the first, inshallah, to be helping. And every single one of us to be part of this project, support it, own it, and make it your cause, make it your issue, and may Allah Azza wa Jalla reward you. Not that my dua, when you are in your grave laying down, you will see all that reward. And more importantly, when you get in the paradise, you will see whatever you have saved with Allah Azza wa Jalla in these days, is being multiplied for you and gifted to you, as if you had actually done anything that you're supposed to be doing in this dunya. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to bless you. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to protect you. We ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to grant success for this community and for your families. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jalla to bless you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. هو المجد اللي شفته مجد ان شاء الله اشوف المدينه ان شاء الله. انا الله يخليك بس عمال ان شاء الله ان شاء الله.
things here with Muslims. I knew you were Mom here is
Yes.
No.